Hello, everybody, and welcome to Low Notes, where today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. We're taking a deep dive into the eclectic world of the West Midlands superstar, Mr. Tony Bontana, everybody.
Well done. Nice one for
But,
having me, man.
nah, no worries. How you been? You okay?
Yeah, good. Obviously, I've just dropped this album the other day, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just taking some time to like refresh after that whole process and just enjoying life, really, man. Yeah.
For sure. Good, good, good. Well, I wanted to start this interview. I wanted to get up on the right foot by saying a little bit about how I know you. So,
Okay.
I'm currently based in Leeds as a university student, but before that, I was in Birmingham. I was at college in
Okay.
Birmingham from 2019 through to 2021, and I
Alright.
crossed paths somewhere with this sticker right here, as you may see on my water bottle.
That's great.
So
What the hell?
yeah, so would you want to tell me a little bit about the sticker? How could this came around? It's dated as 2020.
Yeah. So everything is Perfect Records. So that's like an idea that started between me and the co-founder and producer Sync 600, who's obviously a part of the label as well. We were kind of at the start stages of us making and releasing music, and we obviously kind of saw like a gap in the market per se in terms of the type of music that we were making and the type of music that we wanted to see. And several conversations about that led to us making the label and making the name Everything is Perfect, which, just as a bit of context around that, is it's kind of self-explanatory, but I feel like it's also worth explaining. Like, obviously the world isn't perfect. There are a lot of like horrible, terrible things going on in the world, but the philosophy is that as much as there are these terrible things that happen, everything happens for a reason. And at the end of the day, when you're on your own path, everything works out for the best for your life, basically. So that's where the name, like, Everything is Perfect, came from. It's kind of more like a philosophy, a way that we like to think.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Is there a possibility, or that we could have crossed paths when you maybe potentially handed me this?
Very possibly. I've handed out a lot of stickers. But then also a few of the other guys on the label as well, like around Brum, we just printed like a big batch, and we just got them out to as many people as possible. Spruce, one of the guys on the label, I remember him telling me he went to, it was an Action Bronson and Earl Sweatshirt show in town. Yeah.
It would have been that. I was there. It would have been that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I remember him telling me that he was like going down the line handing out the stickers, because obviously with some of the music that we make and release, I feel like there is some like crossover with obviously fans of that type of stuff, so it kind of made sense. So that's kind of sick that we're here now
Perfect.
from that.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly,
Yeah,
everything is perfect, isn't it?
everything's perfect. It lands us here. You need to know then. So you got to keep up the stickers work. It was sitting on my wall for like for our best part of 2 years now, probably, until I looked at it and went, I wonder what that label's about. Like, I wonder, and it was just when I took a look at you, followed you guys, and I just caught the rollout for your newest album, La Humanité. I've not got the French accent, but yeah. But yeah, going back to the label a little bit, the sound, how do you think, like, what is it about that unique kind of style that made you go for that?
Um, I definitely, I don't know. It's kind of, I think one of the heaviest things was there's this software called Halftime, which we use on Logic, which is like kind of like how the whole splayed sound started. And basically what that is like a lot of producers will know and probably use it, but in the way they use it is where it kind of differs. So it basically will literally halftime like a sample or whatever you put into it, like drums or something like that. And normally what producers would do is they'd just halftime like one element of like an instrumental or something. But what we would do is just throw a whole finished instrumental in it, and then it would do that to it, and that kind of like created this whole new sound.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you can hear that definitely amongst all the roster. How do you think you've kind of curated that roster? What type of qualities do you look for in people looking to join the label?
Initially, obviously, it started with me and Sync 600, and then I was putting on, like, I had this crazy house situation where I was living on top of an office, basically, with no neighbours. So anytime after 5 p.m, I could make as much noise as I wanted in this crib. So I started putting on, like, shows with, like, local artists and stuff, like, literally in my house. Through that, that's where I came across Aloysius and Bruce. And that's kind of where things started to expand from just me and Sing. But I think in terms of, like, finding people, it's more so, like, I don't know. It's more so like just the type of person that they are. Like, if we get on, I don't know how. Must be some, like, weird music magic, but people that I get on with 9 times out of 10 make fantastic music as well. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like,
For sure, the stars just sometimes kind of align in that way, I suppose. And it all started, as you say, with 2 people, but a little bit more about you right at the start. I want to start at the beginning. We know you now as this kind of golden all-rounder musician, producer. What did that journey begin with?
It started with, it's a funny story actually. When I was in year 4, I can't remember how old I was, but I was in hospital. I had, like, really bad asthma when I was like a young child, and my parents got me a guitar for my birthday while I was in hospital. And, like, it literally took over my life. From then, like, I was obsessed with just playing music that I like, finding tabs on Ultimate Guitar and learning as many songs as possible. And I think from there, that's where, like, in terms of, like, actually applying my love for music started. But I think even prior to that, I was a music freak. I was on all the music blogs, downloading as much music as possible, just collecting music, like, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, kind of from there, as we mature, we begin to find our own musical influences. Who were they for you?
I've got to give props to the bass god, Lil B.
Yeah.
When I first found Lil B in, like, 2010, 2011, that, like, blew my mind. I think seeing how free he was as an artist really inspired me. He was just doing whatever he wanted, and it was so apparent, like, in his music, and it's in the way that he carried himself, that I think that really sparked something in me that I think heavily contributed into the way that I, like, operate as an artist.
For sure. And I think in that subgenre of hip hop and in that space and throughout all of hip hop and music now, it's not only about the music, there's a lot of culture surrounding it. Do you think there was any other media forms that maybe influenced you growing up, like shows or films and things like that?
I've always loved movies. I think YouTube was huge for me, to be honest, because when I was, like, coming up, that was when YouTube really first started, really, and watching music videos, watching videos of shows, that really kind of, like, propelled my love of music. And then from that, going to, like, local shows, like, specifically, like, hardcore and punk shows, that kind of, again, just tied into my love of live music as well. When I was younger, that was really what I was doing with a lot of my time, is going to live shows. I remember seeing, like Odd Future. I saw Odd Future in one of their first UK tours at a tiny room in Birmingham City Centre. Seeing, like, ASAP Rocky in, like, 2011. Like, I was just going to as many shows as I possibly could. So yeah, that culture in Brum was definitely, again, a big factor into, like, where I am now.
For sure. And you touched on a little bit there, outside of hip hop, you kind of credit this kind of psychedelia sound in your music, and your love for, like, punk and rock. Where did that come from?
My brother, my older brother, was heavily when he was literally, like, you know, like, when someone says emo, like, that first, like, fingerless gloves, heavy eyeliner, like, that was my brother, innit? So he was heavily into that stuff, and me, just obviously being an annoying little brother, I'd be taking all his CDs, listening to all his CDs, of trying to get on whatever he was on. And that really is, especially that side of things, like the rock and heavy metal and stuff like that. I was just trying to be like my big brother, basically.
For sure. And I suppose now you look back at so much that's influenced you, and you've got this sound. It's so coherent. How do you think you've implemented it all to create that kind of soundscape in your music?
I think it comes from just being a lover of music first. I consume so much music on a day-to-day basis that I know exactly like what I like in a song, what I don't like in a song, and you know what I mean, what I kind of want to implement into my own stuff. So I definitely think it's from consuming so much music myself in my personal life and growing up, which has kind of given me this direction of exactly like what I want to do and how I want things to sound.
Yeah, definitely. I think you do gather that ear, don't you, just for how things should sound, as you say, and what's right, what's wrong, where you want to take things. But I think you're especially good at creating these mini soundscapes and worlds and projects. You look at something like Quiche, for example, and comparing it to some like Real Life Situations or the Tony Tape series, they have completely different sounds. How do you kind of change gear and get into those modes like that?
I think especially more so in like my earlier stuff, I'm kind of trying to get back into it now, but it was so like on the fly. Like a lot of those projects were made in like 1-2 days. Like literally I'd just like lock off in like my room, be like, it would take one song to like spark the idea. Once that first song's made, I'm kind of like off with the races. And so a lot of those things were made in one night, and I think that's kind of how they kind of like piece together in that kind of coherent sense, and like each project's its own kind of world type thing.
Yeah, for sure, I get that. Well, you kind of paint this picture of you being kind of locked away and alone, but you have some really sick collaboration credits, whether it's producing for people or, you know, last year you provided 2 sick collab albums as well as a beat tape. What's your approach to collaboration, and how do you deal with what each artist brings to the table?
I think it's, again, heavily just having that base relationship first. A lot of the people that I collaborate with, I'd say 99% of the people I collaborate with, I have like a personal relationship with them first, whether that be through a love of their music or them having an appreciation of my music. We'll then kind of build a relationship through that. And then once that relationship is there, it just makes it so easy to collaborate musically because we're already on the same page.
Taking a look at 2023, 2024, a very important year for you. Just last week, do you want to tell us a little bit about what dropped?
Yeah, so my album, La Humanité, dropped last week, last Thursday. And just a little bit of context for the album title. I was watching a documentary on Izzy Miyake, the designer, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but he got some type of inspiration from a French newspaper with that same name, La Humanité, and like the kind of tagline for that magazine was, "In an ideal world, La Humanité wouldn't exist." It was like a very politically charged like magazine, just talking about kind of the political landscape in France and stuff at the time. And then obviously a few years ago, I lost my mother, unfortunately. So I feel like that, with that tagline in mind, in an ideal world, La Humanité wouldn't exist. That kind of tied in heavily to the themes of the album. Like, in an ideal world, I wouldn't have lost my mother. You know what I mean? So, So when I lost my mom in late 2020, that was kind of, making music was the thing that was keeping me afloat, really, and processing that grief and everything that I was going through. So it was kind of like this cathartic experience. And for me as an artist, I don't normally take a lot of time to like create music. It would just kind of be on the fly as and when. But this one was a lot more focused and like directional. Like I knew I wanted to put as much as I could into the project, and I'm happy with how it's turned out. Yeah,
you definitely should be. I love the project. I'm banging it. And I think, that idea of it being a real coherent album, both thematically and sonically, is something you've achieved like completely. So congratulations. And the themes, such hard things to to tackle, but I'm loving it right now. And I think, especially since moving up north, there's this lack of acknowledgement for the Midlands, which is also where I'm from originally. I'm from just outside of Birmingham. And there's nothing I love more than hearing familiar calls from home, from accents, locations like Selly Oak Park, and most of all, talent, you know. How did or does being from the Midlands influence you?
So much, to be honest. Like, I think growing up and first like putting my feet into like the music industry, quote unquote, you kind of get taught that, and not that it's not true, but like London's the place. Like, you got to be in London, you got to be around London. And I love London, don't get me wrong, but I was so aversely against the idea that if I'm not there, that I can't make things happen. So I think that's why I tie Birmingham heavily into everything that I do. Obviously, I do a lot of work in London. I put on Display World events in London, but my favourite thing is after a weekend or a week there is coming back home to Brum and having that kind of, it's a real change of pace, like, in terms of living. And I think that's something that I really appreciate. And yeah, I just think, it's not only in the Midlands, but just anywhere outside of London. I really think, especially as the years have gone on, you know, you've got like rappers like H from up north in Manchester, Bugsy Malone in Manchester, all these like sick artists, and Mares in Nottingham. You've got like a lot of these artists really, really like making a name for outside of London and making people pay attention. Like, not all the talent is just there. Like, there's so much going on in the wider scope of the UK that I think sometimes it can get lost in the noise of London. But I think it's really important that we keep, you know, flying the flag for these other maybe not so represented places.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with all these artists, you included, is that confidence and pride of identity is what ties people and listeners to the music originally. And I think you've probably done a great job of captivating the Birmingham and Midland scene. You kind of mentioned it a little bit there, your Display World events. What was the incentive for starting that up?
Pretty much same way as when we started the label. It's like seeing a gap in the market, seeing that there's all these amazing like underground artists that aren't getting booked, they're not getting shows, and we wanted to make a place where we could put these artists on and really like push them to the forefront so people can see like, wow, like this stuff's really happening here, like in the UK. And from there, it was just growing, finding all the talent that we can, and giving them a space to perform and for people to really recognise that this stuff is happening like right now.
And do you think it's had quite a big impact on the community?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, for me personally, it's like seeing this Display World events and like, just seeing such a diverse like range of people at shows. Like, been going to shows like for as long as I could. Like, I've always felt like a underrepresented, I'd say, in whatever shows it is, whether it be like hardcore, whether it even be like rap shows and stuff like that. Seeing people that look like me come out to the shows and being able to like have conversations with these people and like connect with these people has been a huge thing. And I think kind of raising that level of representation, just even within live music in itself, in live music spaces, I think has been a huge thing for Display World, and something that I'm really proud of us for kind of curating and offering a space for that type of thing.
For sure. Well, there you have it. A man of the music, the people, and most of all, humanity. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And lastly, what advice would you give to aspiring artists looking to make a mark on the industry like you?
Just keep going. Don't be scared to drop music. Not everything needs to be perfect. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be perfect, but what needs to be there is people need to be able to hear you. So don't be scared. Put out that demo that you're not sure if anyone's going to like. Just put it out. You know, just get yourself out there and just don't be scared and just keep going. You just got to keep going. That's what I'd say.